people perceive in order to understand, and their understanding leads to more and more efficient perception. Ohayo gozaimasu, a pleasant day to all of us. It is indeed a great privilege to present to you our humble study, which is the perception and distance learning of the senior high school students in the Pitan City National High School Basis for Learning program. For the past 2 years, we have been devastated by the abrupt change caused by this pandemic. From January 3 of 2020 to November 16, 2021, there had been 2,818,511 confirmed cases of COVID-19 with 45,709 deaths in the Philippines as reported by the World Health Organization. With just a snap, in just a blink of an eye, everything changes so drastically that the world itself needs to adapt. We live amidst what is potentially one of the greatest threats in our life, especially in education. Now more than ever, we are facing a gigantic educational crisis. The challenge today is to reduce as much as possible the negative impact this pandemic will have on learning and schooling and build on this experience to get back on a path of faster improvement in learning. As the education system copes with this crisis with a renewed sense of responsibility of all and a better understanding and sense of urgency of the need to close the gap in opportunities and ensure that all children have the same chances for quality education. During this trying time, the DepEd community implemented distance learning. Distance learning, also called distance education, is a form of education in which the main elements include separation of teachers and students during instruction and the use of various technology to facilitate student teacher and student student communication. Distance education has traversed 4 to 5 generations of technology in its history. These are print or modular, audio video broadcasting, radio TV broadcasting, computer aided instruction, e learning, online learning, computer broadcasting, and podcasting. As shown in foreign studies, distance learning has advantages that somehow console the wounds brought by this epidemic. Distance learning is flexible for students. Learners are given freedom in how, what, when, and where they learn. They can learn in their own time and schedule. Self paced learning allows students to access course materials at their speed, meaning that they can focus on things that they find challenging and breast past things that they already know. This minimizes wasted time and promotes greater efficiency. Distance learning also promotes just in time learning. This enhances relevance and relatability by providing easy to access content. When learners identify a knowledge gap, they are compelled to look for solutions. Providing just in time learning, they have the solutions that will help the students fulfill their goals. Another advantage of distance learning is being accessible to everyone, especially to those who already have family responsibilities, to those who are working, and those who are stuck in the distance away from their hometown. Distance learning also helps to lessen expenses, resources, and time. Learners can save money and time spent traveling to nearby educational institutions. It also allows access to learning without any additional cost. Indeed, distance learning might be the solution to overcome the learning crisis we are all facing. However, everyone is to engulf in ensuring the learner's chance to quality education, filling in the gap and providing every child the right to learn that we forgot about how our learners would react to these changes, especially here in our own context. What would be our learners' thoughts? What are their views and ideas about distance learning, or to say, their perceptions? Perceptions often result in learning information directly relevant to the goals at hand, but sometimes it results in incidental learning to one's immediate plans. As Eleanor Gibson wrote in her classic text Principles of Perceptual Learning and Development, perceptual learning results in changes in the pickup of information due to practice or experience. Perception and action are a cycle. People act to learn about their surroundings and they use what they know to guide their actions. From this perspective, the critical defining features of perception include the exploratory actions of the perceiver on the knowledge of the events, animate and inanimate objects, and surrounding environment gained while engaged in looking, listening, touching, walking, and other forms of direct observation. James Gibson and Eleanor Gibson concluded in their paper entitled Perceptual Learning, Differentiation or Enrichment that perceivers is actively searching for the stimuli needs to guide their actions and decisions and in this way coming to differentiate the relevant features situated in a given set of circumstances from the irrelevant ones. John said, and I quote, they can arrange their education around their life commitments. And so, it provides a great deal of flexibility for students. But with that flexibility comes great responsibility as well. As teachers and mentors, it's on our shoulders to help these learners in the best way possible. Thus, the creation of this study came to life.
This study aims to determine the perception of students and the new learning modality. It specifically answers the following research questions. What views or perceptions do students have on distance learning? Is there a difference between students' perception and their sex and grade level? And lastly, how do these perceptions inform the design of a learning program for students? This study tries to fill in the gap between the perception of students and a learning program that is contextualized, gender based, and that will foster learning in this new normal education. The research instrument is a 20-item survey questionnaire with scales from strongly disagree to strongly agree. It was adapted from O'Malley to suit the specific needs of respondents. A Google form link was sent to the respondents who were chosen using non probability convenience sampling. To answer research question number one, which was what views do students have on distance learning, the weighted mean formula was used. And for research question number two, is there a significant difference between the perception of students and their sex and grade level? The Pearson chi square formula was used. Respondents answered moderately agree on items. Distance learning is effective in learning my lessons in senior high school. It is effective in achieving lesson objectives. It is my preferred learning modality in senior high school. It helps me to learn more. It helps me to get good grades. It has more advantages than face to face classroom instruction. It makes me uncomfortable. It saves time. It works well with my schedule as a student. It helps me to stay focused on my studies. It makes peer tutoring possible. It makes participation in class discussions difficult. It helps me finish my learning tasks or activities on time. It motivates me to learn. It promotes flexibility. It facilitates my ability to think critically. And it helps me improve my technology related skills. Generally, respondents had a neutral view of distance learning. Distance learning has been introduced and employed in the Department of Education just recently. Thus, respondents' limited exposure and experience of distance learning explain this neutral view. However, on items namely distance learning requires significant changes for me. It allows me to spend quality time with my family, and it allows me to study at my own pace, had a weighted mean of 2.3, 2.4, and 2.3 respectively, and it is interpreted as disagree. Respondents believe that distance learning does not promote independent learning and quality time for their family, which contradict to the claims stated earlier. Items, namely distance learning, allow me to study at my own pace and it helps me improve my technology related skills, show significant difference between the perception of students and sex. This means that female respondents can study on their own and use distance learning as an opportunity to improve their technical skills. The result of this study is similar to Price, in which she argued that female online learners are confident, independent learners who can outperform their male counterparts. Results also show that there is a significant difference between students' perception and grade level on items. Distance learning has more advantages than face to face classroom instruction. It requires significant changes for me. It works well with my schedule as a student. It helps me to stay focused on my studies, and it allows me to spend quality time with my family. These results may be attributed to the student's level of maturity. Casamilia explained that older students perform significantly better than the younger students.
Based on the outcome and results, we conclude that first, respondents perceive distance learning as a mere variation of learning delivery. Moreover, distance learning does not promote independent learning and family time. Second, studying at one's own pace and improving technology related skills during distance learning vary according to sex. And lastly, the respondent's perception of distance learning varies on the practices, focus, and time management. We recommend the following. Students should practice independent learning and improve skills associated with e learning. They should be flexible to adapt to the new normal in education and form study habits to manage their time correctly. The proposed learning program is advised for utilization to foster students' perception of distance learning and maximize its benefits. Here is our proposed learning program. For all we know, a learning program provides the basis for a cohesive and integrated learning process by outlining the processes of learning and assessment. Our proposed learning program is designed based by the curriculum guide of the Department of Education. This program aims to promote individual learning and develop time management skills. We, the authors, hope that with this study and by the proposed learning program, teachers will be able to achieve the intended purpose of distance learning. We also like to extend our gratitude to everyone who facilitated the second IPO Field, the SLUIP, and Innovation Research Conference. Just remember that the world is full of magical things patiently waiting for our senses to grow. Arigato gozaimashita. Stay safe to everyone.